We call the whole thing.
You want
All right, well, thanks for being here, everybody. We have Robert Kiyosaki. It goes without saying, Robert is a world-renowned author, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know that you probably all read his book. I know we did. We enjoyed it very much. And we are just so grateful that he took time out of his day to come on with all of us. Robert is involved in all kinds of things. And we're going to ask him a few questions today, and I know he's going to enlighten us all with his vast knowledge of how to get out there and create streams of income.
So I just want to give a little bit of a backstory. I was fortunate enough to meet Robert about 10 years ago. I have a picture with him. It was such an exciting moment. And he said this, I listened to a seminar I was at. He talked all about the cash flow quadrant, which he's going to talk a little bit about tonight. And I said, at the end, I said this, I said, I'm a single mom. I have a 9-to-5 job. I don't know how to get into the big business or the investing side of the cash flow quadrant. And I don't know what to do. And I just started with the network marketing, and he said to me this, and I remembered it all this time. I've never forgot it. He said, network marketing is a great place to get your feet wet, get started, save 20% of that income, put it away for investing later, and live on the 80% and stick it out, whatever it takes. You're in a great starting point. And I remembered that for 10 years, I did exactly what he said. So when we saw him a couple weeks ago, it was just like, I just couldn't say thank you enough for the great advice from so many years earlier. So with that being said, Robert, would you please introduce yourself a little bit and tell us some of the books you have and your expertise?
Well, no, thank you. I always enjoy talking to network marketing groups. And the reason is because I'm an educator, but I'm primarily an entrepreneur. And the reason I love network marketing is the number one skill of an entrepreneur is the ability to sell, because sales equals income. And so when I find somebody with no income, the main reason they don't have any income is they can't sell. And so that's, and on a financial statement, that's income, expense, assets, and liabilities. So if somebody can't sell, then they're always trying to minimize expenses. And then if they don't minimize expenses, then they buy stupid liabilities like a new car or a house, which is fine. But they never have any assets. So the reason a network marketing company is fantastic, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, not only are you gaining the skills of an entrepreneur, but you're building an asset. So it's two shots right there. But the problem is getting yourself out of the way so you can sell. And in my poor dad always said salesmen were scum. That's why he was poor. He wanted job security, a pension, paycheck, but he couldn't sell. And then my rich dad was a man who encouraged me to sell. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to see my rich dad, and first I saw my poor dad, and I said, what do you recommend? Because as a college graduate, I was going to fly for the airlines, United Airlines. And I'd be making about $200,000 a year, whoop-de-doo. And all that stuff. Oh, and then my poor dad wanted me to go back to school, get my PhD. PhD stands for poor, helpless, and desperate, So I saw my rich dad, and he said, you gotta learn how to sell. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you gotta sell. And I noticed a fear come up inside of me. So I could fly my helicopter gunship and kill people with no problem. They could shoot at me, no problem. But knocking on a door terrified me. Rejection terrified me. It was just the most frightening thing on earth. So I go back and forth, my poor dad saying, look, United's hiring. Get your PhD. And I go see my rich dad. I said, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I told you what you should do. And I said, I said, tell me how I can be an entrepreneur without selling. He says, it's impossible. So finally, my rich dad's, the closed question was, how's your sex life? And I said, was non-existent. He says, because you can't sell. So I was, this, in my mind, a studly Marine pilot, but I was terrified of women. I was just terrified of rejection. And so I was not getting laid. So Rich Dad found the entry point into my psyche. And he says, and you'll never get laid if you can't sell. So I went, oh God. And then that was where the fork and the road splits. And I went to get my MBA at University of Hawaii and dropped out immediately. It was so boring. And I didn't take the job with United. And I instead applied at IBM and Xerox, not because I like IBM products or Xerox products, but because they had the best, in those days, the best sales training programs. So I remember sitting in the offices of the guys, this is in Honolulu, the IBM personnel guy, and he was a former Marine, and I didn't like him. And so I went to the Xerox guys, and the Xerox guys were at the University of Hawaii, and it was career day. So here's all these young co-eds and college kids walking by, and I go walking in my Marine Corps outfit, and they're spitting at me and yelling at me and saying, you baby killer, and all this. So I go walking in there, and I'm looking around for somebody who would teach me how to sell. And I go past, I hear all this noise. And here's these two guys hooting and hollering, screaming at all the pretty women, hey, come over here, baby, and all this. I said, well, that sounds like a fun company to work for. And it just turned out to be Xerox. So I go walking up to the guy, and he says, have a beer. I said, I really like you guys now, And that's how I wound up at Xerox. I wish I could say it was anything else. But the final part of the story goes, I get hired, and the fear comes up again. The fear of rejection. What do people think of me? What is my father going to think of me? My father, poor dad, was so disappointed. He said, I have a salesman as a son. He was so disappointed because he wanted me to be a PhD. And finally, so the first year goes by, and they kind of give you a grace period. They send me to Leesburg, Virginia, with the best sales training in the world, but my fear is still in the way. And so when I talk to people in network marketing or direct sales, I know that fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of being, what do people think of me? All this stuff. I understand that. So I go back and forth to Leesburg, Virginia twice for advance and sales training, but I still can't sell. So I'm about to get fired. So I'm now about 1.5 years, 2 years into Xerox. And I went to see my rich dad, and I said, I'm going to get fired. And he looks at me and says, so what are you doing? And he asked just one question. He says, how many sales calls do you make a day? And I said, on a good day, 3. And that was exaggerating. On a good deal, 1 would have been good. But I was so afraid of knocking on that door. So my rich dad says, that's the reason you're failing. I said, why am I failing? He says, because you're not failing enough. He says, to be successful, you have to fail more. So if you look at every great golfer, like Tiger Woods, he's hit more bad shots than I ever will. And Tiger worked for free for like 20 years before he made the big bucks. And that's the difference. It's in the mindset where you approach your business. So I think when you talk to people about joining network marketing, they want to know what their paycheck is. You see, if you can't guarantee them a paycheck, they have an employee's mentality. And that's the obstacle. But the bigger obstacle is your fear of rejection and being knocked back, and persistence, and not being a pest, and what do people think of me? So it's self-esteem at that point. So my rich dad says to me, you have to fail faster. Successful people fail a lot. And that goes counter to my poor dad, the PhD, because in school, if you fail, you're stupid. Do you know what I mean? And that's why you want that paycheck. And if you fail, you get fired, stuff like this. Whereas in the real world of entrepreneurship, where you don't have a paycheck, you better fail faster and you better learn faster. So my rich dad didn't give him any answers, and he said, okay, find a way to fail faster. So I didn't know how to do that. And finally, I was talking to a friend of mine. He says, I work for this nonprofit, and every night they dial for dollars for donations. I went, there it is. But until I looked for it, I couldn't find it. So I went to this nonprofit. So I leave Xerox, downtown Honolulu, and I just drive up to this little dinky building. It was a nonprofit. And I had a goal that I would fail 30 times a night. So about 3 to 4 nights a week, I sat there and dialed for dollars. It didn't make a difference if I sold something or not. It was just hitting those buttons. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? The fear was hitting those buttons and calling a complete stranger and saying, hi, I'm from this. I'm asking for a donation. Shut up. And that's what's built self-esteem.
That is
after a while, it's like, oh, they just told me to shut up and get away and all this. And then, so I just got used to it. And I hated it, don't get me wrong. I hated every night I drive, not every night, but 2 or 3 nights a week, I drive up there and I dial for dollars. And I gave myself a goal 30 times. It didn't make a difference if I successful or not successful. Could I hit those buttons 30 times? And then what happened, miraculously, my numbers at Xerox went up. And then 4 years later, I was #1 in sales in the nation. My best friend sold for another division in Xerox, so we weren't in competition with each other. And he was #1 in what's called OPD, and I was in copier division. And his name was Larry. And he just sold his business for $2 billion last month.
Wow.
So most people will never make $2 billion. I'm pretty close. I'm almost $1 billion. But if we hadn't sold. So I asked him how he learned how to sell. He says, I'm a Mormon missionary. And he says, I was, here I am a Mormon in Northern Ireland, knocking on Catholic doors. He says, if you can sell Mormonism to Catholics, you can sell anything. And so that's why, when I met you, Trina, and all this, I said, I'd love to talk to your group because it's really not about the money. Because if you do the process and you stick with the process, let's say 5 years, and you just keep knocking on doors and keep going, you have the support of the people around you, which is important. Your self-confidence goes up, your communication skills goes up. The more you fail, the better. Just fail more. It's completely opposite of what they teach you in school. So today, when people say, well, how in the world, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I said, your book sucks. And I go, yeah, I know. He says, you can't write. I said, I know, because I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. It's not that I couldn't write, I can't spell. So I had too many mistakes. And I said, yeah, but it says best-selling author. And they go, what? It doesn't say Pulitzer Prize. It doesn't say best writing author. It's best-selling author. So far, I've sold 41 million copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad worldwide, and I net $5 a book. So you do the math. So it was worth going through the pain and the process and hanging out with people like you who understand we're here to help each other get through the pain. And that's why when I talk to you, Chance, I'd be happy to talk to your group, because I understand the pain, I understand the fear, I understand the challenges up ahead. Not everybody's different, of course. But if our whole system is dysfunctional, you go to school and if you fail, you're a failure. Whereas to be successful, you have to fail more. And I think that's why we have this huge gap between the rich and everybody else. So I'll speak to almost any network marketing organization so people understand what the ultimate purpose is. And is to develop self-esteem, self-confidence, communication skills, leadership skills, teaching skills. And if you can do that, you'll be successful at anything. You could sell, ice to Eskimos. But that's really the process. And I'll just say it again, my poor dad was so embarrassed when he had to tell his friends, my son is a salesman for Xerox. Wow. So anyway, that's why, I was happy to meet you earlier. And given this COVID environment, you guys have an important task. And it's to pull more people in and through the process. And it's really about how do you develop self-esteem, self-confidence, communication skills, leadership skills, teaching skills. Because that's what we need, because the school system is going to tear that apart. So that's why I'm here.
Well, Robert, can I ask you, because there's, in this time we're in right now with the global circumstances everybody's facing, people are losing their businesses, their jobs. I mean, what would you say to somebody of the importance of having something that you can do from home that, get into a network marketing company and get started, even if you don't have the funds to have some big business or brick and mortar store? I mean, to me, that network marketing is the easiest way to get your foot in the door, to do basically what you just said, but even more so, in my opinion, today. How would you say or talk about that?
It has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with the economy. I'm making, my problem right now is too much money.
Well, and it's true.
That's like my best friend.
It's true.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the economy. My best friend now has $2 billion sitting in the bank before taxes, or after taxes. But there's so much money out there. If you can understand that, they're going to print another $3 trillion in a couple of weeks. It has nothing to do with the economy. It has to do with the individual. And if you can't make money, you're the problem. So that's what I say to people. It's not, I'm a Marine, 4 years of military school, 6 years of fighting for the United States of America. And I just really hated to see such wimps coming out of our school system. They're pussies in the Marine Corps parlance. And Marines don't like cats. They're talking about something else. You know what I mean? It's so wimpy. So it has nothing to do with the economy. So if they can understand there's more money out there than ever before, and they're the problem. And what are you going to do about it? Because if you don't go with, it's like a metamorphosis. It's like a caterpillar enters a cocoon and comes out a butterfly. Well, that's really what you're offering people. Because if you think it's the economy, then you may as well be like, I don't know, the people that blame Trump for all of their problems. They blame their mother for all their problems. They're the problem. There's more money than ever before. And they can't get their hands on it because they lack the skills. Now, I know it's easy to say, well, it's easy, you get into the business and all this, but if you have to sugarcoat it to some loser, you got a loser who has been eating sugar. Okay, so I'm a Marine. I don't like wimps. You know what WIMP stands for?
Tell us.
Where is my paycheck, sir?
Wow. You know, and traditionally in a bad economy, and entrepreneurship and network marketing goes like skyrockets because people are looking for more creative ways to bring more money into their family income. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, that's why they're screwed up, because they're looking for money, not skills. They're losers.
Wow. So I know you believe in multiple streams of income.
No, I don't.
Oh,
That's Robert Allen.
it's a what?
That's Robert Allen, a friend of mine. His book was Multiple Streams of Income.
Okay. Well, I know our time is just about up, but I cannot thank you enough. This was like, I can't wait to watch it again. And I have so many notes, but I think this is so important. And I love that you're such a straight shooter and you just tell it like it is. And you certainly have helped probably more entrepreneurs than anyone through your books. So we're